So this video is about different kinds of flow ropes. So it's just a little introduction to show you what your options might be if you're looking for a flow rope. So we'll start with this one. This is the first one I bought. I bought this when I knew nothing about flow ropes, and flow ropes really weren't very widely available. So I landed a couple options, and in my mind they were kind of expensive. Like, I want to say I spent like $60 or something like that on this rope. And while I really like it, I was hoping to find a cheaper option. So what I'll say before I get into the other ropes about this rope, so this is a commercially bought flow rope. You can see it has like these knots tied in the end. The edges are, I don't know, like soldered together, and so like it's not going to fray here. The material is like really tightly woven rope, which means that it doesn't really like disintegrate too much on the edge, like where it touches the bottom. The weight is about perfect. It's, I believe this one is 1.2 pounds. And so while I really liked this one, what I was trying to do was find a cheaper option, because I thought if people want to get into flow ropes, or if I want to do clinics and that kind of thing, and like I didn't want to spend $60 per rope. So I'll show you a couple other options, and I'll note my experience with the compromises you're making by spending less. So went to the hardware store and got some climbing rope. So this rope is about the same diameter as that one, but it actually weighs less. So there's a couple things that are less ideal about this one, but I will say, like, this was pretty cheap. I bought like 100 feet of it, so then I could just cut the end, and then I taped. So like this one doesn't have the knots or handles, which personally I think is fine. That might be a personal preference. It might be easier to have the knots there, but if you don't have them, it's not like your rope isn't usable. But I just use like electrical tape to tape the end of it together. The issue with this kind of rope is it's a lot stiffer, and so if you store it, so you can sort of see what happened to this one. Like, it doesn't hang, you know, like quite as easily as that one, because it has a lot more stiffness to it. So, you know, while it's still totally usable, right? Like, I can use it. It's a little bit lighter than the other one. It's a little bit stiffer. I would say totally doable. And as far as if you're looking for a cheap option, this works. Just know kind of what you're compromising on. And I would suggest not storing it in like a curled up ball, but store it someplace where it can lay flatter. It also might not last as long. It doesn't seem to be as durable, but it can definitely work. So then I went on another website because I was looking for more rope. I think I got this off a website called Right Rope, something like that. There's several like websites that just sell rope of different quality and different weight. So this one, if you can see, is a little bit thicker. I think this is like a 1-inch diameter. This rope weighs 1.4 pounds. So it's just a little bit more than the one that I originally bought. It's significantly cheaper. Again, I think I ended up being able to get this one for like $14, but I bought them in bulk and I had to pay for shipping. So, you know, like the total cost on it's probably closer to 20. But they, at the company, if you can tell them exactly how long you want the rope. I asked for 8 feet on this one. I think if you went 9 feet, you'd probably have room to like tie a knot in the end if you wanted to have the knots in the end. I opted to not do that and just figured make it 8 feet because you pay by the foot for this rope. So again, as I'm looking for like the cheapest option, what's interesting about this one, so it's 0.2 pounds heavier, and I totally notice from 1.2 to 1.4 pounds, it is a pretty significant difference, which makes it like the rope swing, when I'm swinging it, the swings end up being a little bit slower, but I feel them more, which is cool. And then when I go like overhead here, I can feel like even more mobility through. So I really like the heavier rope for the deeper feeling of mobility that I get, or the deeper feeling of like fascial stretching that I get, especially when I'm swinging it overhead. I've worked with people in clinics in person who had even heavier ropes than this. So like and they were, in my opinion, too heavy to go overhead. Like if you go heavier than about 1.4 pounds, it ends up feeling like I don't want to swing this thing overhead. Like it feels dangerous. And it ends up maybe being a little bit too slow to get what we want. So it's not a matter of heavier is better for our purposes. I really think like 1.2 to 1.4 pounds is about what you want. If you go lighter than that, I've encountered people that have ropes that are even lighter, like less than a pound. They end up feeling really flimsy, and it's hard to feel momentum. It's hard to feel the movement pattern that we're trying to ingrain and feel when you're swinging the rope around. So be careful of a rope that's too light. Be careful of a rope that's too heavy. 1.2 to 1.4 pounds is your ideal weight, I think. And then know too that this rope, you know, I've only been using it for like maybe a week or so, and swinging it around on concrete, it's already starting to sort of disintegrate here, and that's just because, you know, the quality of the rope itself is not as high as what I paid the money for. So the lesson in all of this is, in all likelihood, you're going to get what you pay for. And so if you want a really high quality rope, your best bet might be to just suck it up and buy like a pre-manufactured rope from a rope flow company that's selling them for like, and they're 1.2 to 1.4 pounds. If you're looking to save money, or you're not sure, you know, this is something you really want to get into, go ahead and get a cheaper one, and then just know that it might not last as long. Go for the weight over everything, 1.2 to 1.4 pounds. And again, the length of this one is 8 feet long.